Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to look at the desire for diagnosis when it comes to injury. Now a diagnosis can be incredibly helpful because it can give us a really clear idea of what are the next steps to get someone to their recovered position and be able to run again. Diagnosis can be quite tricky. I'm not somebody who's allowed to diagnose. Most people you would probably see for some sort of treatment or some sort of assistance also are not allowed to legally diagnose. You can get people who can do this with other additional qualifications, but most people can't are in sports massage. So what we're looking at realistically is getting through some scans, which can be very expensive or time consuming if you're looking at the NHS. So it isn't always necessary. Often what happens, especially if there isn't signs of bruising, swelling, and obvious like, oh, I've gone over on my ankle, often what we're looking at is a dysfunction. So we're looking at something that isn't quite working right, it's adding additional load or stress to the body, or things are working perfectly well, but we're just doing too much. Often most injuries, certainly that I come across, and obviously there will be some bias in this because of the people I see, most things aren't generally big injuries. They're often the body's unhappy and giving you some information because of an issue that you're doing too much training, there's something that's changed in the way you're moving, change of shoes, or there's just some sort of weakness or imbalance of movement or muscle mass and strength and mobility. So more often it's a case of look at people moving, whether it be running, whether it be going through strength exercises, mobility, and giving some assessments on based on that then lead into exercise, mobility, or sometimes some treatments depending on what it is, or referral on to another professional who's more appropriately positioned. So the desire for a diagnosis can be really helpful, absolutely. However, it can also pigeonhole us. If we get this in our mind that we have this specific thing, it can really kind of stick with some people. And I've seen this a few times. So if you do have an issue, if you have a tendonitis in something, we want to be mindful of that going forward. You shouldn't be someone just going to go, oh, it's just one off and done, because there's a good chance it might happen again if you've had it once, depending on the cause of that. So what you want to then do is be mindful of it, action it, but don't be defined by it, don't be determined by it. Don't let that kind of decide what you do forever. I've seen plenty of people come back from certain types of injuries, certain things like a tendonitis, and if they take the right actions, they keep on working mobility, they keep on working on strength and appropriate training, actually they never really have the issue again, or certainly go for a much, much longer periods of time. So yes, understandable seeker diagnosis, often it can be very helpful, but it does depend on who you're going to, how you're assessing it, but most importantly, take control of the actions that are going to get on top of that in future. Don't let it stop you, don't let it hold you back unless it has to, in which case look for alternatives, be proactive in the way you're approaching these things. So yes, get a diagnosis if it's appropriate, but don't let it stop you really doing things that are in your control. So focus on what you can do and action those things.